Hello, my baby gorillas. Let me just get this correctly in the right position so there's not any ambiguity of where this is going and what sort of level I'm getting on here. Let me just get this sorted out. There we go. Are we in? Let me see. Let's see if this is working. Oh, here we go. Oh, hello. Are we in? Come on. Oh, here we go. It's a bit noisy, that, isn't it? My goodness. Let me make sure this is the right level. And I hope you enjoyed my wee skit earlier on. Come on. Hope you enjoyed my wee skit earlier on. Let's make sure this is up in the right place so we can make sure the noise is at the correct level. We'll see if I'll come back to that in a minute. Let's go. So, Craig Houston, let's see this. Craig Houston. Sunak about to stand down, right?
Hi there, welcome to...
So I've already told you before that the Conservative Party are going to go over the cliff with Rishi in charge. The fact that he's going to stand down 4 weeks before the election just shows you how screwed up the Conservative Party actually are. If they were going to do it, they should have done it weeks ago. I actually did a podcast called Political Lemmings, and you'll be able to see that if you go back and look at my previous podcasts. You'll be able to see that they're all going to go over the cliff just now on the back of Rishi Sunak. And I've already told you that. As far as I'm aware just now, that the UK Reform Party is now sitting on 24%, and the Labour Party has now gone under 40%, and the Conservative Party are now at 17%. So the whole thing is inverted. Now with the Reform Party sitting at 24%, and the Labour Party, because Sir Keir Starmer is a Trotskyite and he's going to bring in extreme far left views, Islamo-Marxist views, it's now coming to a stage where the Conservative Party are now underneath the Reform Party, and they're the problem now. They're not the solution for anything. And what Conservatives have to now figure out is at what point are they going to jump ship and try and join or try and campaign for the Reform Party, which is now transformed positions. But they're not going to replace Rishi Sunak in the last 4 weeks, because it'll be an even bigger disaster, and they won't get anybody to replace him anyway. It's lemmings going over the cliff, which I already told you about before. The Conservative Party, I think they'll be lucky if they get 66 seats. The Reform UK has now superseded them on 24%, and the Conservatives are on 17%. And just now we have seen the inversion. So just now the Conservative Party are holding back the Reform Party. People are all jumping ship. Everybody's gone. There's not enough time to actually change leader in the next in 4 weeks. And everybody, all the MPs in the Conservative Party are all screwed. And I told you this weeks ago. I told you if they were going to do it. I thought Nigel has left it too late, but apparently just now Nigel's timing's been absolutely perfect. And the rank and file of the Conservative Party, who are more on board with Nigel rather than the Conservatives, who have lied and done nothing, and they're lying again, say they're going to do stuff and they're not going to do it. It's too late to what Craig's going to say. So better not voting for the communist and Trotsky, who's pretending to kick out the left in the Labour Party. He's a Trotsky, and I'll show you later on. I'll show you just now why he's a Trotsky.
The latest episode on my 10-minute moan. The topic of this 10-minute moan is about a rumour that Sunak may be stepping down. Okay.
It's too late. I've already explained it's too late. All the Conservatives are going to go over the cliff. I almost thought it was too late for Nigel to come in, but apparently Nigel's timing is absolutely perfect. And now that they're on 24%, Labour's under 40% and going down. Now Nigel's taking Labour supporters because actually Sir Keir Starmer's the extreme left, and he's going to bring in all these. That's why he's not telling anybody what the policies are going to be, anti-white policies, and they're going to try and bring in Islam as a protected class, and he's doing all this in the background, and people are starting to cotton on to this. So Sunak's not going to be replaced, because who's going to take on board the downward turn in the Conservative Party, especially now apparently the UK Reform parties are sitting on 24%, and the Labour's the Conservatives are only 17%. It's a done deal. So anybody who takes on board the political posturings just now of what the downturn in the Conservative Party is just going to get screwed over anyway. So nobody's going to take over that. So that the thing that you're saying is not going to happen, Craig, from a political logic point of view. The Conservative Party are doomed. They're like the Titanic about to hit the rocks. And the fact is that these people will not be able to replace Sunak in time to change anything, and it just shows more desperation on board changing your captain when the captain's already ploughed it into the rocks in the first place. Sunak will always be the person who stabbed Boris in the back, who stabbed Liz Truss in the back, him and the globalist shills in the Bank of England, and nobody's going to take over his globalist role while the Conservative Party is about to hit the rocks, and especially now that the Reform UK party is overtaking them in the polls to 24%, and apparently the Conservative Party are 17%, and they're now holding the right of British politics back.
This might be true, it might not be true, I've got no idea, but what I can't say is for definite he will or definite he won't. Let's have a look at what's going on. GB News issued this morning a piece with the headline, "Wild rumours Sunak to resign rapidly spread after PM cancels media interviews."
It's not going to matter, because regardless of who they take, it looks like the Conservative Party are now a disaster. So say somebody like Morden takes over, she's not going to do any difference. It's too late. You have to have time not to hit the rocks. Same way as Swinney is going to get devastated, the Conservative Party are going to get devastated. The question is, are Conservatives now going to support Nigel Farage and vote for them? Because now the Conservative Party are under the UK Reform Party, and it's whether or not they're going to be partisan in the fact they're going to support the Conservative Party no matter what, or are they going to jump ship and support Nigel to prevent Sir Keir Starmer getting in charge, the Trotskyist? And not only that, they're going to have to, they're now bringing in the Labour Party starting to lose votes and lose voters to the Reform Party. So I believe that now Labour is under 40%, 39% and going down. Once the Reform UK gets to 33% and Labour comes down to 35%, it's game on. Nigel might become Prime Minister. I don't think people are really getting the dynamics here. The Reform UK are 24% just now. The Conservatives are on 17%. The Conservative Party and the loyalists to the Conservative Party are holding back Nigel becoming PM, and they're going to let in Starmer. And the fact is that Starmer is now starting to detract and now starting to get under 40% because Nigel's coming up in the polls to 24%. And if Nigel gets another to 9% up to 33%, the Labour Party is going to come down, and it's game on. It's game on. I don't think people are understanding this. It's absolutely game on that Nigel might be the next first Prime Minister.
What became apparent is Richie Sunak cancelled some interviews over the weekend, which, when you consider we're right in the middle of an election campaign, it's quite a bizarre stance to take for a sitting Prime Minister. Now, this is obviously all started with his disappearance from the D-Day remembrance and celebrations over...
Let me just stop Craig there for a second there, and let me see if you guys are saying that nothing here yet. Okay.
Last week, and he left early to take part in a TV interview, which, when you consider most other politicians have just stopped campaigning for the day.
Yeah, this is why the Reform UK is now on 24%. This has been really badly seen, and it's been badly seen also with the Labour voters as well, who are now going to the Reform. That's why Reform's now sitting on 24%, and the Conservatives are down to 17%. And now apparently Labour is under 40% and going down now. Come on then.
It was very disingenuous, and it's not been received very well at all by politicians, some people in his own party, and the British public at large. So,
job done. Perfect. So we have a beautiful...
There's been a few things that's upsetting people. There's obviously, that's upset a lot of people, but a lot of people within his own party are very upset by the timing of the election, where they felt like everyone else. It was...
Now, I'm going to show you something as well, because obviously this is... you know, I get it right before anything else. So... there, so that's 2 months ago, and I already told you 2 months ago.
Been marginalised. Ago, and said that the if played properly, that the Reform Party could win the general election, and you all laughed at me, but you're not laughing now. No, I'm not going to do a Nigel Farage. However, what we are going to see is a case of political lemmings. David, what's a political lemming? What are you talking about? Usual nonsense from you, Mr. Ballantyne, is it? No, we're going to see two cases of it. And what political lemmings, what's going to happen is the leader, this one lemming, is going to go off the cliff, and then we're going to see all the other wee lemmings follow them and exit right from the political or the political game, shall we call it, or the Parliament even.
I should have said the political stage, but yeah.
To be more precise, political lemmings. I still don't really understand what you mean, David. Can you spit it out? Context, man, context. So the context is,
so these guys didn't have any YouTube videos, YouTube channels. They didn't have a social media.
that Lee Anderson today joined the Reform UK party under Richard Tice. Richard Tice has now said that there's up to 7, apologise for the spray noise, that's the cleaning the Parliament, cleaning the NCP car park. That Richard Tice has now captured Lee Anderson potentially before the general election. There's going to be local elections. So under normal circumstances, I think Lee Anderson should have had the by-election, but because it's so close to the general election, I think it can be waived on this
Correct again.
specific time frame to the parliamentary elections. But what should have happened was that Lee Anderson said that it's too they did kind of say it, but they should have been more pronounced about saying it's too close
Or precise.
to the actual parliamentary elections, and there's not much point in having an election in between now and November at the latest. So we're only talking this
Well, it'd have been January at latest, but okay.
is March, so we're only talking about 8 months, and then to run a by-election in between, completely pointless, and they're completely correct, is pointless. What we don't have though, what we should have had, is that if a leader like Humza Useless, he's not appointed by the people. Humza Useless is just appointed by a minority of the SNP to become First Minister. So he's got no democratic mandate. What should have happened, him and Pishi Rishi, was that they stood down and there was an election at that point. When you change the leader, you have to have a parliamentary election because they've got no democratic legitimate mandate, which we're seeing just now. We're seeing
Correct again.
that they don't have any mandate because they can't get elected, they can't do anything because they've been unsuccessful in every election, like for Humza Useless. Craig Patterson, is that
Houston.
Craig Johnston?
Craig Houston.
Craig, who does the podcast, basically said that he's done 10 in a row. So they've now done 10 consecutive elections that nobody has wanted Hamas Useless. Humza pants down, Humza been shagging. Nobody wants him. And nobody wants Pishi Rishi either.
Correct again.
But because these two wallopers have been thrust forward as leaders, they've not got any reservoir of support. So what's going to happen is that when the elections are actually called and people don't vote for them, then all the other MPs that did back him are all going to go off the cliff like lemmings. It's going to be watching political lemmings follow their leader off the cliff, because that's all it's going to be. Political lemmings, and they're all going to go off the cliff.
And that was 2 months ago. So if they had done something 2 months ago, and that would have made a difference. Just now, 4 weeks to go, whoever's going to take the hot potato is going to end up being responsible for destroying the party. Nobody's going to take the hot potato. Nobody's going to vote against Rishi. They're all going over the cliff. Same way SNP and John Swinney.
More likely to be in the autumn, later on in the year. But he sprung it on the nation, surprised a lot of people and upset a lot of Tories.
That's correct, and it's not even that. Now Nigel's ahead in the polls, and now the Conservative, even more so the rank and file of the Conservative Party are now saying, right, well, if it's either Nigel, now that they've gone, the Reform UK has gone ahead of the Conservatives, or Keir Starmer the Trotskyite, which I'll show you in a minute, they're going to take Nigel by a country mile. They're ranking the file, and now they're trying to parachute in the globalist one world government aficionados into the Conservative Party safe seats. The One Nation, or what I would call the globalists, the ones that pledged allegiance to Baldy, Dr. Evil and Davos and that mob. Are now going to be the ranking file of the rump of the Conservative Party. And everybody's jumping ship now because they've gone. The Reform UK has gone up to 24 points. They're not going to be able to replace Rishi in time. They've only got 4 weeks left. Rishi is going to take the Conservative Party over the cliff. Nobody's voted to let Rishi in. He didn't even win an election with Liz Truss against Liz Truss, and everybody likes Nigel. The Conservative Party are going over the cliff, which I pointed out 2 months ago, and it's too late for them to do anything other than them actually getting destroyed as a political party. I think they'll be lucky if they get 66 seats, because now, between now and the next 4 weeks, everybody's going to vote for Reform UK, because they're the only ones that can stop Sir Keir Starmer. And now that the Reform UK is on 24% and rising, and Keir Starmer's starting to come down, so there is a chance, if enough Conservatives jump ship over to Reform UK, that Nigel could be the First Minister, or the Prime Minister even, excuse me.
Election they feel has been called at a time which wasn't ideal, where they could have, put it off a few months, try and gain some popularity and possibly save their seats. And a lot of Tory previous MPs have just simply stood down and just said, no running.
Yeah, because but it's not about them, it's about the rank and file. Now, what's going to happen in the next 4 weeks, we're going to see the councillors and the people in the Conservative parties refusing to support the globalist MPs. We've got this woman. Let me just show you this. I don't know if I can get this up. Let me just see if I can get it up. I had it here. I think it's Paul Joseph. Let's see. Modernity. Let's see if I can get it for Paul Joseph Watson. He's great. So if I can get this. So let me show you the type of MP.
I have a full-time job.
I'm going to have to look for this, so you've got to bear with me.
ConnectWise was not supposed to be a full-time job. Yeah.
Nigel Farage is back.
This is great. You should watch. If you're not signed up for Modernity, sign up for Modernity.
2.
Let me see if I can get it, man. Let's see if it's this one.
Hate both Tories. Class whether.
Yeah. This is just shows you the state of the Greens. Let me just show you this.
After an Islamist stabbed and killed a police officer in Mannheim, Germany, the German Green Party apparently found it funny. This happened during a debate in the Berlin State Parliament.
Der schreckliche Tod
I told you these are a bunch of scumbags. The Greens are scum.
von Mannheim zeigt uns natürlich, dass wir bei der Migration.
So this is a woman from Turkey. Obviously, the Turks invaded Europe and raped and murdered millions of Europeans. The Muslim Turks.
Bei der Migration, ich würde darüber nicht lachen.
What a shitty and bizarre thing to say.
Der Migration.
Even removing the subject matter from the equation is not even funny. She clearly meant to say death in Mannheim and instead said death of Mannheim. It was a barely noticeable mistake and certainly one of no consequence, yet they chose to laugh it up.
Der Migration.
What kind of cretin would seek to make fun of such a tragedy? Tuba Bozkurt, a German Greens lawmaker born in Germany to second-generation Turkish immigrants. Bozkurt,
What a scumbag, man, honestly. What an absolute scumbag. Let me... I can't remember... I can't believe it's not here. Where is this? Come on, Paul. Where is that? Farage 2 days ago. Some questions. Who's okay? I don't think that's
Supercharge your business with the all-new Shopify point of sale, the all-in-one POS.
Hate both Tories.
It's not it.
Nigel for thing will happen to her.
Farage. Nah, let me see, question time. Time 2024. So there was some woman on the BBC, some individual who was, that's her, I'm sure that's her there. So these are all basically the same individuals.
When it comes to cancer waiting times, they're
Ines Sarvar versus Baldy. I mean, really, honestly, that's not a political choice. So that, I'm sure it was this woman here, and she was saying about the culture wars and all that. The woman was definitely not a conservative, and that was the level of the.
It's too late in the day.
And that was the level of the interactions for the Conservative, that they were basically not a Conservative.
Waste of time. So when you put this all into the pot and consider how Tory party politicians and potentially members are feeling right now, Richie Sunak was probably not the most popular person to them. And I would.
It doesn't matter just now, Craig, because they're all going to go over the cliff, just like the same with Swinney. They're all going over the cliff. It's an irrelevance how people feel, and if Sunak did the naked can down the road, right, it's not going to matter from a political point of view, because they've already taken their destination. They've already seen where this is going. They've already screwed up. It's not, maybe we can salvage it in the next 4 weeks. Nobody is going to change the Prime Minister now. If they did, it's going to be an even more catastrophic defeat, and everybody's going to jump ship to Nigel's party. There isn't going to be a choice of leader in the intervening 4 weeks. Rishi Sunak is going to go down as the individual that broke the Conservative Party, and Nigel Farage. Nigel Farage's timing couldn't be any better, and Nigel Farage is now sitting on 24%, Labour sitting on 17%, and Labour are under 40%. They're starting to decline. Watch this.
Not be surprised if there's been many calls for his resignation.
Tired of typing tons of notes during class? There's finally a better way. It's called Otter.
Now, they have flung some well-known Tories in front of camera to dispel these rumours. But as politicians we're talking about...
It doesn't matter if they did it or not. They have to do an election campaign in the next 4 weeks. Say it took a week or 2 weeks, whatever it's going to take to actually get an election campaign in the middle of a general election, and that guy's or girl or woman's got 2 weeks to actually then run the general election. They're done. I told you 2 months ago, if they didn't do it then, they weren't going to do it. They're all over a cliff. They're going to go down to... I think they might actually be decimated. And the fact, decimation is 1 in 10 of the what was the Roman army that would have been killed. That was decimation. But I think decimation in this context means that the Conservative Party might go down to 0 seats. 0 seats. And that's going to be the legacy of Rishi Sunak, somebody who was not elected by the grassroots, didn't beat Liz Truss, didn't win an election, and the Conservative Party, which are put in by central office, who are out of touch with the actual Conservative grassroots. Once the Conservative councillors start to jump ship, and the Conservative grassroots party, the chairman, everybody else jump ship to Nigel, it's done, it's finished. Everybody in the Conservative Party, every MP is going to go.
You can say something on a Friday and do the complete opposite on a Monday, as we've seen recently in Scotland, where the First Minister told us all he was going to come out fighting when there was calls for him to resign, and resigned at the end of that weekend. So, it's no unprecedented that these people change their mind. And the fact that he said...
It's not about changing their mind. If they had changed their mind, they should have changed it. They never had them in the first place.
Nothing.
Them and the globalists should never had Rishi Sunak in. We all knew that Sunak was a globalist shell for baldy Dr. Evil. And now the Conservative Party... Parliamentary parties showing their hand as globalist shells. It's not going to matter if they change. They're all going over the cliff together. Same with Swinney, all over the cliff together. They're all screwed. Only Nigel just now can beat Starmer. The Conservative Party rank and file are now holding back a change in policy, and it's now Communist Starmer versus Nigel Farage.
We're probably going on 24 hours now, maybe 48. While we've got a general election going on, is very, very peculiar. So, I'm not saying, and people saying, well, that can't really happen because what's he resigning from? Well, he actually still holds 2 posts. He is the current leader of the Tory party, and surprising to many, he's still the Prime Minister.
It doesn't matter, it's too late. You don't have enough time. So somebody else is going to come in the last 4 weeks of a general election. Say it takes a week, 2 weeks to have the election. Who's going to stand knowing that you're going over a cliff? Who's going to stand? How are they going to stand? What are they going to stand for? To go over the cliff? They're all going over the cliff. They're done. Who's going to put their political constituency on the line to go over the cliff as party leader on the back of a 2-week point of the general election campaign? It's done.
Because although Parliament has been dissolved after he called the election, the Cabinet are still a thing. The Cabinet still function. So he is still the Prime Minister. It's not a role that disappears like an MP. Normally MPs stop being MPs about 4 or 5 days after an election's called, and that happened like a week ago. But the Cabinet still has to be the Cabinet, and the Prime Minister still has to be the Prime Minister. And over and above all that, regardless of what happens at the election, the public don't decide who is the Tory party leader. That's the Tory party that do that, and he is still the Tory party leader as we speak. So could it happen? Very, very possible. I wouldn't discount it.
It's not impossible. It's not probable. It's done. It's done. They're going off the cliff together, Craig. That's not correct political journalism just now. I've already explained it why. I explained it 2 months ago why. They're not going to do it. Nobody's going to... Why would somebody, from a political point of view, take over the Conservative Party after Rishi Sunak has screwed it up? If they were going to do that, they had to do it about 6 months ago and give a bit of... Even back then, they've already screwed it up so many times, it's unbelievable. The Conservative Party are done. It's whether or not they're going to jump ship to Rishi Sunak. No turning back. Hold on, let's get a laugh at this. This is Radio Times.
Give your projects a friendly jolt in Slack. Type it out.
Conservatives will hope that they can just any great controversies, which means that their campaign it's been more boring than Rishi Sunak announcing a whole range of policies that don't make much sense, and Ed Davey falling off things, both of which are way more newsworthy. But if you ask who the happiest party is, the answer is the one that's 20 points ahead in the polls.
Yeah, but you're going down now. You're starting to lose to the Reform Party because everybody thinks you're a bunch of commies. Let's see somebody who was a literal commie talking about you or Sir Keir Starmer, the lispy prick. So this is the new cultural forum. So this is somebody who was a Trotskyite and has rejected it.
Hello and welcome to the show this week. I'm Peter Whitlaw. Now I'm delighted that we have with us today a guest who's been on the channel pretty much since we started. Peter Hitchens, of course, is columnist for the Mail on Sunday, but also writes for numerous other publications. And indeed, is the author of some 9 books now, Peter?
I think it is actually 9 books.
Welcome.
It's a joy to be here again.
And you are inaugurating our new set, which means a lot to us, if not to you.
I'm thrilled.
But I think it looks great.
I like your picture.
Yes, I think it sums sort of everything up in a way, actually.
I always like the memento mori on the bottom.
Well, it was a way of getting kids interested in art. So you see,
whatever the arrangement is, if you can, if you live in a constituency where your vote counts. I personally, I've put that in because I personally live in a...
Vote Reform, don't listen to wow, man, honestly, I thought his brother was fantastic.
Constituency where my vote would make no possible difference because it's a safe Labour seat. But if you live in a constituency where your vote counts, whatever you do what you can to prevent a victory by Starmer's Labour Party. That would be my absolute rule.
So won't that mean...
So vote Reform UK now that they're ahead of the Conservative Party. You have to abandon the Conservative Party and now vote Reform UK now that they're ahead of it. Or are you going to let Starmer the commie in?
Mean for a lot of people voting for the Tory Party?
No, it doesn't mean voting for anybody. I think people have to master the fact that
it does mean that. It means you have to vote Reform, because if you don't vote Reform, you're going to let in the communist Starmer.
In this country now, where we have not for many years been presented with parties which have any interest in what we think.
So let me just note up there, Starmer is a far left Trotskyite. When you hear the worst, that's like the Socialist Workers' Party. He's a filthy Marxist piece of shit. He's a filthy scumbag. The Trotskyites were the people that murdered millions of people in Russia, and that's what Keir Starmer is. He's a piece of shit. He's a scumbag.
Think or feel. You must learn to vote against. And often in voting against, you'll find yourself giving your vote to a party you might well despise, as I despise the Conservative.
Which may be the Reform UK for some, but it's still better than a communist.
So it is.
I know that when we've talked before, and you've written obviously a lot about it, for you, the year with the Conservatives was about 2010, wasn't it? That was the last time that you thought it was...
No, I go back further than that. I began to develop my dislike for the Conservative Party around the time of the defenestration of Ian Duncan Smith. It wasn't that I thought Ian Duncan Smith was a good leader. I don't think he was. He was a terrible leader. But the way in which he was removed and the purpose of his removal and what seemed to me to be the collaboration between the left-wing media classes and a large part of the Conservative Party in removing him and the subsequent coronation.
It's not the left-wing Conservative Party. It's the globalist shills for Baldy Dr. Evil that are the journalistic class who are owned by the same globalists that go over and pay tribute to Baldy Dr. Evil in Davos. They're the ones that control the Conservative Party and the Labour Party, and they keep the momentum in that sphere. That's why, like something like us, when we come in and we are disruptors, they know it and they don't want it, so they try to push out, defame you, do anything they want to actually push you away. But they're quite happy to support Starmer the Trotsky, which this guy was a Trotsky. This is what's his name? Oh, Peter Hitchens, and he was in the far left until he came to his senses as he got older.
Was to Blairise the Conservative Party, and it was basically a bloodless putsch in which the Conservative Party became part of the Blairite apparatus. And if people voted for David Cameron's Tories in 2010, I reasoned, they would be endorsing and ratifying this change and accepting that the Conservative Party would henceforth be a Blairite party. And the other point...
And it's not a Blairite party. This is, and Carol Benjamin said this as well. Although Blair was like the social democratic side of things, it's not. That's not what it was. What it was in 1971 the WEF were formed, and ever since then the move towards the globalist agenda has been pushed. So even Tony Blair was a globalist before he was a social democrat. Same with Brown, same with David Cameron, same with May. Liz Truss was the WEF as well, and so was Boris, and so is Rishi, and so is Sunak. So they're all part of the WEF agenda. It's not the fact that this is a social democrat and we've maintained the social. It's the globalist hegemony and the moves towards the one world government that's come, and they've said it's a Tony Blair-esque. It's the globalists that are the underlying political force. It's not the social democratic force. It's the globalist force that's underlying this.
I felt very strongly at the time. People would often say, well, we've got to get Gordon Brown out. And I would reply, why? In some important...
Well, he was just a globalist shell as well.
...aspects. I think especially on the European single currency, I still think Gordon Brown was considerably to the right of David Cameron.
It's not a right-left thing, it's a globalist and anti-globalist agenda. So you're either a globalist shell or you're anti-globalist. It's not left and right. There's some people on the left that agree with me, there's some people on the right that disagree with me. It's not a left and right thing. It's a globalist and anti-globalist thing.
And I strongly suspect that on a number of social issues the same thing was true. Also, by then, New Labour was washed up, burnt out.
So let's see if you guys are saying in. Very strange that none of you guys are here. I'm not sure what's happening here. Let me just check this, make sure. Let me check here. What's going on? What's going on? So what they're going to start doing is interfering with not responding. So what they're going to do is start interfering with your electrical equipment. Hold on 2 seconds. So, saying here there's 11 people watching. Somebody put a comment in the chat, so I know that it's actually corrected. Because obviously they're just mucking about just now. Here we go. Let me see if this is... You'll be able to see that...
lacking in energy or direction, had no new policies. We could have afforded an interlude of a weak, battered, lifeless Brown government while we reconstructed conservatism in this country. It was an amazing opportunity. And I tried to get anybody else to see it. And I couldn't. A lot of people were very rude to me. I lost a very old friend over it, I remember. And I approached other national newspaper columnists who I thought might sympathise with my strong fear of what David Cameron was doing, and they wouldn't help. So I was completely on my own. The worst moment of it all was a debate which I held through Intelligence Squared in London, where I thought I'd had a debating partner, and we would debate this against Michael Gove, amongst others, and make the point that the Conservatives were not actually a Conservative Party and needed to be replaced.
But the Labour Party are not a Labour Party. The whole point of what the globalists have done is made a hegemony to push through their underlying manifesto. Both the Labour Party and the Conservative Party have signed up to the globalist agenda. So that's why they're not Conservative, they're not Labour. That's why we're not able to get proper debates, because the actual underlying issue has not been identified, which is that all of the political parties, which will come on to a second, are all basically signed up to the globalist manifesto.
My debating partner, who I won't name because he's dead now, and I don't see any point in jumping on his tombstone, pulled out at the last minute, leaving me on my own, totally, as I had been in all the time I've been writing about this in this paper. And I just thought, this is one of the worst moments of my life. I went of the Blairisation of the Tory party was complete.
It's not the Blairisation, it's the globalist agenda. That when they go to Davos and get their instructions, it doesn't matter whether Conservative or Labour. They both get their instructions, or the Liberals, and so does the media. So that's why it's a hegemony. It's not the social democratic position; it's the globalist position.
And that really, as a result, the country was finished. And when this election came up, what I'm basically saying is the country has had it, but you can head towards perdition quickly and deeply unpleasantly, or you can head towards perdition more slowly and less unpleasantly. And faced with that choice, I really wouldn't want to accelerate it by putting Starmer in government. Starmer is not some kind of moderate. He's a highly dogmatic, very left-wing person.
Starmer's a highly dogmatic left-wing person. So this fake left-wing purge is only to cover Keir Starmer, and up there, Starmer is a far-left Trotsky. And that's where he is. So the smoke and mirrors is just to cover up his far-left globalist shilling. And that's why we don't get any policy from Sir Keir Starmer, who is a far-left Trotsky. Communist. He's a communist.
I'm qualified to know that because I understand the British left. And the other thing is...
So Peter Hitchens is of the British left, the far left. It's not just the British left. My family are from the British left, and the trade unionists, and they were probably socialists, but they weren't communists. And this is a difference between the communist left and the left. It's not that all communists are socialists, but not all socialists are communists. And the Trotskyites were a branch of socialism, as Marxism, as was National Socialism, as was Maoism, as is the woke communists who are basically Trotsky and basically the socialist worker element of the far left. This is what they actually are, who hate Britain, who hate being British. They should just piss off then.
I'm reminded, haunted even, by my memory of the 1997 election, where again I felt strongly, I'd been told by an old friend who was part of the New Labour apparatus, that the project was far greater than most people understood. I was haunted by the feeling that the whole of Conservative Britain had resigned itself to a Blair government on the basis of, it's their turn, it doesn't matter, Blair's really a Tory. And I thought this was completely wrong, and I believe that was borne out. I mean, remember, let's take three very simple things.
That's right, because they're not, the underlying agenda is the globalist agenda. It's not a left or right. Every one of the centrists are sworn up to the globe. That's why they get elected. They're sworn up to Baldy Dr. Evil's agenda, his manifesto, and it doesn't matter if you vote for the Labour Party, Conservative, Liberals, Greens, SNP, or the Welsh Nationalists, which I'm just going to show you in a minute. They're all under the agenda of the globalists, and they're all signed up to that. So it's not a social democracy. That's just where we don't really understand it. They're all basically on the same team, and Baldy Dr. Evil's in charge, and they're controlling the media. We have to find out who the connection between the media and Davos and the Bilderberg Group and the Council on Foreign Relations.
When the Blair Labour Party stood in 1997, they said nothing about Bank of England independence. They said nothing about their...
Yeah, because they're signed up to the globalist agenda. That's why they're quite happy, because the Rothschilds apparently run the Bank of England, and that's why the Chancellor who screwed up Liz Truss trying to reduce taxation, because they want to push the Remain agenda, which I'm going to show you in a minute, they're all signed up to the globalist agenda.
A grotesque and enormous raid on private pensions, and they said nothing about their planned constitutional revolution in which they put Alistair Campbell and Jonathan Powell,
all globalist shells,
in charge of civil servants, although they had no elected position and were not responsible to either House of Parliament, which is, there were other things they did, I know, in constitutional revolution, but these three enormous things which they did very rapidly were not even spoken of by them in their manifesto. And it's just, I keep looking at the Starmer Labour Party and how little they actually tell us about what it is they're going to do. And I harbour in my mind the dread that within a few weeks of Starmer walking into Downing Street, we will see so many extremely well planned, powerful blows struck at what remains of the constitution and economy of this country, that people will be amazed. And they'll say, why did we let that happen? So I said, why bemoan it now? Why wail about in the streets?
Well, the reason is that you've got a far-left London media, and not one of them has been critical of Sir Keir Starmer, because they're a bunch of Trotskyites, university indoctrinated Trotskyites as well. So that's why the BBC, they're all called me scum.
O'Hare in July and August, when you can do something about it now. Don't be beguiled. Don't let these people in.
And that's why, don't vote Labour. That's exactly it. So the Silver Fox, Craig Houston, says vote Labour. Do not vote Labour. Or don't vote for any of them. So I'm going to skip on here. So here we go. I've not seen this, so I'm going to do an analysis of this and destroy them all if you're ready.
7 political parties, 7 leading figures who believe they...
6 globalist shell parties and Nigel Farage.
They have the answers to the UK's future. Welcome to the BBC election debate. Leader of the House of Commons. And the questions that you will hear in the next 90 minutes will come from the audience. The time will go fast. We need to make sure all...
So the BBC, which are shells for the globalists as well, they're not representative of the UK, and they're just shells for the globalists. Get an audience that's pre-picked of a bunch of commie Trotskys, and they then are on the side of the rest of the 6 commie Trotskyite globalist shell parties. That's how they play the game.
7 get their say, and there will be times that I move them on.
So there's that Baldy Steph, who's Baldy John Smith. That's the GIMP party, the Global Islamic Marxist Party. That's a doughball, that's a shell, and those two are just there for the I don't know why they're there.
On or call a halt. Meanwhile, journalists and other representatives of the parties are gathered in our spin room, where there will be reaction to the live debate. And so, to the first of tonight's questions, and it comes from...
Pre-picked audience, comes from the pre-picked audience. They know what these people's political stances are. The BBC pre-picks them to actually know who they are and what they believe, that will back up the globalist shill MPs, which represent 6, which doesn't represent the UK being the majority wanting to leave the EU. These are all Remainers. These 6 are all Remainers. There's wee Baldy. That looks like wee Baldy John Sweeney Jr.
Francis Gottesman.
As we celebrate D-Day and remember those like my father and so many others who served this country so well, how will the parties ensure our army is ready and our country is safe from another major conflict?
Well, they don't want to, because what they want to do is sign up to an EU army and allow Britain to be unprotected. They wouldn't be allowing just anybody to walk into the country if they were actually serious about protecting Britain. It's like a Trojan horse. So the globalists have already decided that Britain shouldn't be protected, and none of the 6 MPs that I just pointed out, or parties, want to protect Britain. They're all sold us out many years ago.
Thank you, Mr. Gottesman. And let me turn first to Angela Rayner for Labour.
Thank you, Francis, and thank you to all those that have served in our armed forces and continue to do so in what is a very, insecure world at the moment.
Hold on. What's going on here? Yeah. So I've come. What's going on? Let me see. Where are we? I've come. I see. Hold on. Hold on. I've not forgotten you. Just give me 2 seconds, we'll get that sorted out. Woo! I'm back. Let me see this. It's weird. Right, I think that's us. Seems a wee bit, still seems a wee bit out of focus, doesn't it? I need to get one of those remote controls for this. Right, I think that's it. Let's see. It's weird. Right. Let me see if that's MPs. Right. I think that's it.
First of all, Labour's committed to the triple lock on nuclear deterrent, especially in the climate that we're in, which means...
That's great, that's great. So, again, when you lied to us that Joe Biden was going to be less disadvantageous to us all getting blown up in nuclear war, and the Labour Party supported it with dough balls like you, Raina, you lied to us on the back of that because... senile Joe Biden is just a shell for the globalists as well, so that we can have the step towards the one world government. That's absolute trout.
Means we will keep our nuclear deterrent.
Great, that's great. So, but you're just going to let people walk in. So the whole of the Russian army could just turn up in dinghies and come into the UK because of you and the rest of the other 6 parties' open door immigration policy. They wouldn't even need weapons, they would only need to just turn up.
That we will make sure that the 4 submarines are built in Barrow and that we will continue with the upgrades. We will have a commitment to the 2.5%.
No commitment to Scotland.
Spending of GDP, which obviously is very important. And I think one of the other things that is a real scandal at the moment is our armed forces and the accommodation that they're given. So we will look at that issue as well.
I thought all the accommodation was given to the illegal immigrants that you are allowing to come in, that you guys won't stop either.
Well, we want to make sure that everyone has secure, decent homes in the UK.
Oh yeah, well that's absolutely just waffly nonsense, isn't it? You're not going to do that if you're just allowing people to come in and they're jumping to the head of the queue when they've never contributed to taxation.
Daisy Cooper for the Liberal Democrats.
Well, the Liberal Democrats are the party of Paddy Ashdown, so it won't surprise you to know that we take...
Oh, great. Oh, well, if you're the party of Paddy Pantsdown, then that's fantastic.
...defence very seriously. So, first of all, we would maintain the nuclear deterrent that we have.
Oh, that's great.
An absolute priority for us is reversing the cuts to our troops of 10,000, which has happened under the Conservatives.
Oh.
We would increase spending on defence year on year in the next Parliament with the ambition of reaching 2.5% by the end of the next Parliament. Having decent homes for our veterans and for our armed forces...
You can't even... You're still an open border exponent and you're still allowing people to come in. You've allowed members of the armed forces to starve on the streets last time we were in, so let's not talk nonsense.
It's incredibly important. I'm very proud of the fact that it was a Liberal Democrat amendment that tried to make sure that that every single home met the decent home standard. It was only because this general election was called that particular piece of legislation fell, but it's a priority for us in the next Parliament.
Nigel Farage, Reform UK.
Well, Francis, you're right to ask the question. We're spending less on defence than we were in the last year of the Labour government. Pro rata, the army has shrunk from 100,000 to 72.
Just shows you the increased taxation, just the same way the so-called Scottish National Party. The reason they've increased taxation is because they've failed to grow the economy. They've done really stupid things that didn't benefit the economy. They've raised taxations on the back of the stupid things they've deliberately done because they've been upset because they didn't get their way, because they're all just shells for Baldy Dr. Evil.
2000, recruitment is catastrophic. So rather than having a weird concept of national service, where 30,000 youngsters would do a year. We need to recruit 30,000 people into the army full-time. And yes...
Oh, well, that's true. There has to be a great recruitment, but are some of the new British people who are here going to do the shift? Or are they just going to live off the other people doing the shift?
Veterans' point's been made already. Respect our veterans, including those with the average age of...
Look at the state of this. Look at that wee green goblin there from the GIMP commie Green Party. And there's Baldy Steph. It looks like John Sweeney's wee brother.
100 who were deserted by the Prime Minister in Normandy yesterday, which I think was a complete and utter disgrace and shows us we actually have.
This is exactly why the Reform UK has gone to 24% because of Sunak's actions yesterday. And it's been pointed out that the Commonwealth committed a lot of soldiers as well, so and so did India as well. So this isn't. This is due to, I think, Sunak's, I think he's autistic or something. His lack of ability to have respect for the Indian soldiers who died and fought alongside British soldiers in the Second World War. It's not just the fact that a lot of British people died. There was a lot of Indians who were part of the Commonwealth who supported and died as well alongside their British compatriots. So he was disrespecting Indians and people who are Indian in India as well.
A very unpatriotic Prime Minister. It was dreadful.
But Penny Mordaunt, can you respond to that? Rishi Sunak leaving the D-Day commemorations before the end of the day?
What happened was completely wrong. And the Prime Minister has rightly apologised for that, apologised to veterans, but also to all of us, because he was...
Yeah, can you imagine 4 weeks before a general election, and I don't know if he's deliberately trying to destroy the Conservative Party, but Penny Mordaunt looks absolutely devastated because she's not going to get re-elected on the back of her stupidity voting in Rishi Sunak, because it was only the parliamentarians that voted in Rishi Sunak, and she's probably one of them, and now she's going to get tin-tacked on the back of her decision to allow Rishi Sunak, who didn't get voted on by the members. They wanted Liz Truss because the Bank of England undermined Liz Truss, who are just shells for the globalists as well.
Representing all of us. I'm from Portsmouth. I've also been Defence Secretary.
Yeah, and although Penny Mordaunt's a shell for the globalists, Penny Mordaunt is a politician. Remember, I can differentiate between a politician and a shell for the globalists. Is quite a good politician. But she's looking devastated there because she knows that she's going to lose her job. She potentially could have become Prime Minister, and now her political ambitions are going to wither on the vine because of her decision to back Rishi Sunak as Prime Minister.
And my wish at the end of this week is that all of our veterans feel completely treasured. And I'm hoping tonight...
Yeah, and Can you imagine saying the Queen saying, "Yes, I'm off. I'm going to do an interview on the BBC." Nobody would do that. And this is what happens when you import people who have not got the traditions of staying there and knowing what's the most important thing to do.
Tonight to convince you of some things that are important to them, important to their legacy. And I couldn't do that if I wasn't straight with you on that issue.
Would you have left D-Day early?
I didn't go to D-Day. I think what happened was...
I think, well, she probably wasn't invited because she's not that important in the greater scheme of things. But I don't think she probably would have left. Even if she was Prime Minister, she probably wouldn't have left.
It's very wrong. I think the Prime Minister has apologised for that. But what I also think is important is we honour their legacy. They fought for our freedom. Unless we are spending the right amount on defence, we can't honour that legacy. The baseline for our equipment programme is 2.5%. If you're not committed to spending that over the period it needs to be spent, you are not funding defence. And I have to just mention also the cornerstone...
So, the failure to grow the economy, the failure to reduce taxation, the failure of the Bank of England to run the economy in the correct manner, the failure because of the globalist shells, the failure of the 2-year lockdown, all of this failure by the Remoaners, by the globalists, has got us in the situation we're in.
The stone of our defence is our nuclear deterrent. And you need more than...
That's great. So we're going to nuke people on the back of this. That's great because of the situations that the globalists have pushed forward, because they want to control the world. And even if it brings us to the brink of nuclear war, they're prepared to do that, to actually have the one world government, one world currency. Don't forget, the Bank of Russia, or the Russian bank, is not controlled by the globalists just now, as the communist China's and other banks. There's, I think, 4 banks, Iran, not controlled by the globalists.
Submarines, sailors and warheads to deliver that. You need credibility. And it's too late for Labour on credibility.
Well, I don't think it's too late. I think we're just finding out that there are a bunch of Trotskyites that supported like the Sith, like they've supported Palpatine to get to in close proximity of 10 Downing Street, that he's not produced any policies, and he's just kept his mouth shut while the other globalist, Rishi Sunak's going over the cliff, possible political suicide, to allow the other globalist shell, the other Sith member, to actually become the leader, the Trotsky, which Peter Hitchens is more attuned than I would be to actually understand that Sir Keir Starmer is potentially a communist in disguise.
Angela Rayner voted recently, along with the guy that wants to be your foreign secretary and half the Labour front bench, to end our nuclear deterrent. If you're doubting that they would use that force, and she might be Prime Minister...
2 cheeks of the same asshole is 2 globalist shells. She's about thicker, and I don't know what her goal is, but the fact is 2 cheeks of the same asshole.
In 4 or 5 years' time, if you are doubting that she or David Lammy or Keir Starmer would use that, imagine what Putin is thinking. Without credibility...
probably thinking, well, I was in the KGB, and these guys seem like a bunch of communists as well.
We become a target. If we become a target, you are less safe. It's too late for this generation of Labour politicians. That credibility is shot. Do not vote these people in.
Angela Rayner, would you like to respond to that?
Penny, you can keep pointing at me, but you're the party that have cut the armed forces, crashed the economy and left us in a real mess.
They deliberately done because they were all globalist. Those 2 are in cahoots. It's a Punch and Judy show that we're getting dealt here. In fact, all 6. So you've got 1 out of 7 politicians that are not actually in the globalist shell pocket. So all the rest of them are just Punch and Judy politicians.
It's been absolutely clear. I am absolutely clear. We will keep our nuclear deterrent and we will invest in it into the future.
It doesn't matter
we
what you're prepared to spend.
Clear on that.
It doesn't matter how many submarines...
That's great. So we're on the verge of World War III because of the what's happened in Ukraine. We've got major disorder with the communists and the Islamists and the globalists in the UK that they've allowed these people into the country. And they've done this to disrupt both the UK, both Ukraine, and Israel and the Middle East. So the globalists have done all this. It's not the fact that, and then these 2 globalist shells, she's about stupid, so she may not be part of it. But Penny Mordaunt definitely voted for Rishi Sunak, who's just destroyed the political entity of the Conservatives, and she's backing the Trotsky, Sir Keir Starmer.
You stand next to and have your photograph taken. If your foe does not believe that you will use these weapons, the deterrent is gone. Well, and that's the position you're in.
Let me
serious stuff. This is what will happen
Tories have
if
been
you
in power,
elect
Penny.
these people.
Penny Mordaunt definitely voted for Rishi Sunak, who's just destroyed the political entity of the Conservatives, and she's backing the Trotsky, Sir Keir Starmer.
You stand next to and have your photograph taken.
become a laughingstock internationally because of your party. Keir Starmer...
They're a laughingstock because these two people are dope. She's just absolutely diabolic in her understanding of politics. She could be like the Biden, the weekend at Bernie's politic, that some people are wanting her as Prime Minister. This woman's an idiot. Penny Mordaunt's not an idiot, but she's probably just a shell for the globalists as well. So the two of them are talking about nuclear Armageddon in a time where there's obviously heightened interactions between Russia and the rest of the world. And these two clowns who are just shells for baldy Dr. Evil are talking about this.
Has changed the Labour Party. We're very clear on our number one priority is to protect our...
Let me bring in some more parties on this question.
My brother was served in Iraq. I won't be lectured on whether or not I'm absolutely committed to the security of our country.
Then you're not better informed. The question, Mr. Gottesman's question was, how will the parties ensure our army is ready and our country is safe from another major conflict? Carla Denyer, how would the Green Party ensure that?
Well, first of all, I want to say we all owe a huge debt.
We're a bunch of commies as well, like Angela Rayner's mob, and I'm potentially politically retarded. Wait until you see the retards in the Scottish Green Party.
Veterans, those from D-Day and...
Why do they all look the same? Why do they all get that look about them?
Those from conflicts since. And it's a tragedy that so many veterans then often struggle in life. There's high rates of homelessness.
Yeah, but you're allowing, you as the Green Commie Party, allowing people who are not even born here to be given houses ahead of the people who have fought and died. I'm sure you, as a Chinese wee commie in green clothes, is not going to give up their house, or you think you're better than them, and the people who have fought and died are being left in the streets. That's you've done that. You and your commie pals have done that.
And that's something that's a high priority for myself and the Greens to tackle. In terms of defence more broadly,
you couldn't defend yourself. I think what we need to do is put the Greens in the front line of the next war. That's what we need to do. We'll just put them all in the front line, get them all suited and booted, and we'll see how they fare in the front line of the next war.
Election is about choosing what kind of country we want to be, and of course part of that is security. We live in uncertain and dangerous times with war on our European
just look at your notes.
Borders and major threats
from the people that are backing you in the Commie Green Party.
Cyber attacks that don't...
Oh, cyber attacks, that's another buzzword for the Davos mob.
...care about geographic...
Look at Baldy Steph looking like an undertaker.
...boundaries. The threats should not be underestimated.
Oh, no, they definitely shouldn't be underestimated. I'm sure we'll all be really happy when you're in charge.
But the biggest threat facing the UK and the world is climate change.
Oh, no. It's not the Russians, it's not nuclear winter. It's the Chinese pumping out quarter of their CO2s. You and your commie mates over in China. Why don't we just pack up all the Greens? I'm up for this. I will send them one-way tickets and get them go over and talk to the Chinese Communist Party. You'll all probably be speaking the same language anyway. So we'll get the Greens and their commie pals to go over and talk to the Chinese who are pumping out a quarter of their CO2. I'm up for that. I think we could all chip in and get every one of the doughball Greens over to China. How about
that? And militaries, interestingly, are taking this threat extremely seriously.
Look at your notes, extremely serious, look at your notes.
So in answer to the question, how would...
She's not answering the question, she's reading the script.
Do you ensure our army is ready?
She's not going to. He's never seen anybody in the army. She doesn't know what the army is. She's been sitting in a leafy middle-class suburbs, and do you think she's going to be first one in the front line? Do you think she's going to go up and serve? She's going to get other people to go and do it. She needs to go up and do it and then see what it's actually like.
You do not want to see the size of the army grow, and you do not want to see defence spending go up to 2.5%.
She doesn't want to see British growth. She's a green communist, just like poofy gay Lennon, Patrick Harvey, and the rest of the queer mob.
GDP?
Well, let's look for a moment at why we're talking about that number. As members of NATO, we are rightly asked to contribute a fair amount towards the defence budget. That's
what Donald Trump told you to do. So that's what you're going to be doing.
totally fair enough for NATO to ask for that. But
is it? Oh, well, I think it was Donald Trump saying we're sick of paying for you guys.
The UK is already contributing the 2% that NATO asks.
So why have we got a drop in defence services then?
It doesn't mean, however, that we could...
There's the Islamopascists in there.
...be spending that money more effectively. And as Greens, we're clear that investing in tackling climate threats, the biggest threat facing humanity, as militaries all over the world are already doing, because they recognise that if not tackled adequately, it will increase conflicts over water, for example, increase famine, and create millions of refugees.
Let me turn then.
Oh, yeah. Hey, she's trying not to laugh. Like she's biting her lip. She's trying not to laugh. Oh, dear. Well, listen. Let's prevent millions of refugees and let's send every Green member over to China. They're all commies anyway, so they'll fit right in over there. They can then explain the fact that why the Chinese have not to pump out a quarter of their CO2. And then we can send them to India and then America. They're not going to go on so well. Well, they might go on well in America, considering the indoctrination of a bunch of commies in America as well. But these doughballs don't want any growth. And it's like the middle class political retard game. Oh man, I was privileged, but I'll kid on them down with the kids. These are just a bunch of farcical individuals.
And to Stephen Flynn of the SNP, the nuclear deterrent...
Oh, here we go, Baldy Steff of the Irish National Party.
Submarines are based in Scotland. You are against maintaining the nuclear deterrent, though.
Yeah. He's against pledge sponsoring him to polish his baldy dome like John Sweeney.
Yes, absolutely, and our party's had a very long-standing tradition
of being the Irish Independence Party or Scots-Irish Independence Party. I'm not quite sure where you are. You think you're still in Ireland?
In respect of that, because we believe that money can be better spent on conventional...
It's Scots, not the Irish invaders. So to be Scottish, are you not a Brit over here? Would it not be the Britain National Party if you were in Northern Britain, the Britons of Strathclyde? Why are you basing yourself on Irish invaders? I'm not talking about the Irish people that came over in the 18th century. I'm talking about the original Dalriada Scots, where the word Scottish comes from. The Picts were probably Brythonic, so they were probably Britons as well. So why are you named after? So do we need to decolonise Baldy Steff? Flynn, is that not Baldy Steff's raison d'etre?
Defence forces, and what we've seen in Europe...
Well, let's put Baldy Steff in the next war.
...over the course of recent years is that how absolutely vital conventional defence forces are. But may I just return to the original question and thank Francis for his father's contribution. We need to be standing with our veterans. We need to make sure that our military is fully funded and that we have more people serving and that we look after them when they become...
But none of that's what you do, because you're just a globalist shill as well, Baldy Steff, aren't you? So it's not you're going to do that. You're not going to do that. You haven't done it. You're more important. Which you're going to come on to, because I've seen the clip, want people to come in from other places and get preferential treatment over and above the actual people who fought and died for this country. And your stupid CND type stance, it just shows you for what you are, a bunch of clowns.
Veterans. And just finally on the Prime Minister, a Prime Minister who puts his own political career before public service is no Prime Minister at all. A Prime Minister who puts his own political career...
Blah, 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 blah.
...before Normandy war veterans is no Prime...
Which is strictly true.
Minister at all. So it's incumbent upon all of us...
Well, it's going to be incumbent on you to win your seat, because just now you look like you're going to go down to single figures.
To do our national service.
And let's be honest, Fat Alex is better than any one of you guys in Westminster or Holyrood. Fat Alex is a much better politician than you, Sweeney, Nippy, Useless. You're all a bunch of cocos. So the fact is that nobody's going to give a shit if you guys go. It's going to be no political loss. You're not political heavyweights.
And vote the Tories out of office.
Brina Purworth of Plaid Cymru.
Yesterday was a sobering day again, wasn't it, in remembering the sacrifice made on the beaches of Normandy. It certainly wasn't a day for staged photo ops, as we saw from Nigel Farage.
Hang on a second.
Yes.
So this is the guy from the dough balls. So the Irish National Party that's in Northern Britain, or not speaking Brythonic, is the same like Sinn Féin, who are a bunch of commies, globalist shill scumbags as well. Same as the so-called Welsh Nationalist Party, who are just a bunch of globalist shill commie scumbags as well. So the fact is that the Celtic Fringe are not nationalists. They're a bunch of commie globalist shells under Baldy Dr. Evil. So the fact that the Welsh Wind Bank here, it's not the problem as Welsh people. The fact is that these scumbags. So I'm in favour of the and this is another thing. Welsh means foreign in English. The Welsh are the OGs. The Welsh are the Britons. And it would be better saying that, not calling the Welsh, they're the Cumbria, and the fact is that they're the original Britons. Obviously the English are the Welsh, unfortunately, because they've come in just like the Scots are the Welsh, because they've been an invading tribe. The indigenous language to the full of the UK is Brythonic, and the indigenous language and the indigenous people are the Britons, Briton, who are Celtic. So the Britons who are Celtic spoke Brythonic. Neither the Scots, who are Irish. There's nothing wrong with being Irish. There's Vikings here. There's Scots here. The Scots have contributed a lot, so have the Vikings, but they're not indigenous to the place. The indigenous are the Britons and the Celtic Britons who speak Brythonic, and that's right down to Wales, Cornwall, and they're the OGs. They're the original inhabitants of the UK.
Raised £100,000. I raised £100,000 for the London Taxi Charity to send veterans back to Normandy.
How much did Baldy Steph do?
That's why I was there. Thank you.
And it certainly wasn't a day for a Prime Minister to decide, as Stephen said, that his priority should be to fight for his own political future. We have a proud record in Wales of sending young men and women to the armed forces, and we need to make sure...
So let me just show you this. Let me see if this is still on.
Normandy, it certainly wasn't a day for staged photo ops, as we saw from Nigel Farage.
Hang on a second.
Yes.
So this is a guy from the dough balls. So the Irish National Party that's in Northern Britain. And I should say that Sinn Féin, I'm talking about Sinn Féin. I'm not quite sure. I'm not au fait with all the political parties in Ireland, but Sinn Féin seems like a bunch of commies to me. I just want to point that out. And I know that the Welsh, so-called Welsh nationalists, are very similar to the Scottish nationalists, as well as Sinn Féin. And these are basically communist parties underneath, and they're all aligned with Baldy Doctor Evil and Davos. They're not actual nationalist parties.
Or that the armed forces are properly funded for conventional deterrence and peacekeeping, and we need to look after those young people when they leave the armed forces with so many problems in housing and mental health issues and so on. But we don't build that resilient conventional force by spending £200 billion on a new nuclear deterrent.
Thank you. Penny Mordaunt, to come back to you, I mean, clearly there's been a lot of comment already about the Prime Minister in D-Day and that amounting to no presence at all.
Amounting to?
Amounting to no presence at all on D-Day. How did you feel when you realised that he had attended the British event and other parts of the day, but he left before the international event at the end of the day?
Look, I think what happened was very wrong, and I'm glad the Prime Minister has said that, and he's apologised. He's apologised to veterans, but I think he also has apologised to everyone, because he was there representing us. And what I hope is that our veterans will feel treasured and their families will feel treasured at the end of this week. I don't want this issue to become a political football, because I think that does them a
Well, it already is. It already is, because the veterans themselves are speaking out saying he's let the country down. And to say that it's a mistake, if his instinct was the same as the British people, he would never have contemplated for a moment not being there for the big international.
It's not just that. There was, as I said, there was many Indians who sacrificed themselves as well in the Commonwealth forces. So it wasn't just the fact, and others in the Commonwealth. So it wasn't just the fact he was letting down the UK. He was also letting down people who were of an Indian descent in the UK and also externally.
Ceremony. And it shows how disconnected he is with the people of this country.
He's apologised.
I think what we saw from the Prime Minister was panic, and I think it's the same pre-election panic that gave us that back of a fag packet plan for a new national service, which those in the armed forces have said that wouldn't be workable, let alone what it means about what the Prime Minister thinks of our young people in this country.
Let's be clear about what happened yesterday. It was not only politically shameful, but I think many of us feel personally quite insulted. I started yesterday morning watching a recording made by the Royal Mint of my late grandfather.
Oh, well, you're obviously part of the globalist elite shill party then, aren't you? For the illiberal, liberal, undemocratic Democrats. If your grandfather's getting minted by the Royal Mint.
Where he recounts catching his best friend who fell from the top of a Sherman tank. Who
was he American?
Shot in the head.
I'm not disparaging the commitment. I already understand from my own point of view what the commitment was from the British Armed Forces, but I'm just unimpressed by the illiberal, liberal, globalist shill party saying anything. In fact, I'm repulsed. It's not my repulsion for what happened in D-Day, it's my repulsion for the fact that these people are calling themselves liberals. I'm not interested, and the fact is she looks like she's reading off what accused anyway.
And as he waded through the...
We all lost our... if we're actually casting up here, there was a disproportionate number of Scots that signed up for the Second World War. The SAS was started up by a Scotsman. There are so many stories that we could actually be cast up at this precise moment. But everybody in the UK will know somebody or had somebody who was involved in the Second World War, grandparents, etc. And different things. It doesn't mean that they weren't in the front line. They weren't committed to the Second World War. But I think we have to understand that these globalist scumbags seem like they're preparing us. I think we should stick these people in the next war. All these people who know what it's like to be in the front line, all these people who are quite happy to send other people at the front line, we need to stick them in the front line of the next war so they understand what it's actually like.
The water, he recounted in his words, men blown to pieces, hands, legs and heads.
Oh, well, and thank you very much for countenancing that fantastic point. That's absolutely terrific. Are you going to be blown to hands, limbs and pieces? Is that something that's going to happen to you?
If he had been there yesterday and seen the Prime Minister walk away from him, I would have found that completely.
Yeah, so whoever advised him is probably just screwed the Conservatives up. This is why the UK reforms on 24%, the Labour's fallen to 39%, and the Conservatives on 17%. It's all changed. It's game on just now.
As I do now, find it completely and utterly unforgivable.
Okay. Thank you very much for the responses. That was our first question. Let us turn now to our second, and it comes from Ishani Rudra.
I'm about to start studying medicine at the University of Manchester. How will the parties ensure I can graduate into a fully functioning NHS?
Thank you, Ishani. So just about to start studying medicine at Manchester University. Daisy Cooper.
Well, first of all, really good luck. I hope it goes incredibly well. We need lots of people signing up and studying to become the medics and our NHS staff of the future. Look, under the Conservatives, our health and social care services have been driven into the ground. And the Liberal Democrats have a very clear plan as to how to fix this. We're going to fix the front door to the NHS with 8,000 more GPs, giving you a guarantee of an appointment within 7 days.
So, at the UK, sitting at the highest level of taxation because of the misspending of the Conservative Party, where are you going to get the money for you to do this? This is just bullshit pledging.
We're going to put an end to dental deserts. We'll have a mental health community hub in every single...
But you also want open door immigration. So the fact is that these people are all going to get access to the NHS and the social services without contributing to it. So the problem is the open door immigration. Another 800,000 people legally migrating. It's ridiculous. And unless you're addressing that, you're not going to address anything. All the rest of it's just waffly nonsense.
Community, and we've made a very bold pledge to fix and to offer free personal care.
It's not free, somebody's paying for it, so you're going to obviously have to increase tax or borrow more. So you should stop saying that. You sound like an absolute doughball.
That means you can get the help you need when you need it. We can fix...
So you're going to get the help when you need it. This is just waffly nonsense. This is just absolutely unhinged. If you're listening to this and actually thinking about voting for the illiberal, undemocratic Democrats, you need your head read. This is just nonsense.
The back end
and also have an open door immigration policy
to the NHS by making sure that if you need to leave hospital, there will be care in place.
What's the total annual cost of all the changes you're making?
So we have set out in our manifesto exactly how every single pledge is going to be funded. But we've said right across the piece, across all of our policies, we will not tax struggling families during a cost of living crisis, but we will be looking to those really big companies raking in billions of pounds of profits to support struggling families and to fix our public services. Okay.
Health is, of course, a devolved issue, devolved to the UK nation. Stephen Flynn, your party's in charge of health in Scotland. It is a time of record waits and
It's a time of record waits and shit education. Well done, Steph. You've done a great job, mate. Done a great job. We Nippy and Baldy John and Useless have done. Oh, you guys are awesome. Awesome. Well, why don't you give yourself a pay rise?
And high numbers of people waiting, for example.
Why don't you rip off your own party and get a touring bus so you can get a wee motorhome bus?
12 hours or more in A&E or 24 months for treatment. How would you ensure that Ishani graduates into a fully functioning NHS?
Yes,
well, I would just like to say, I think I would potentially David Sayer if I had a wig on, but just now I'm looking like Luke Picard out of the Star Trek.
Ishani, good luck to start with. As someone...
I wonder if Baldy Steph went to a segregated school. I think we can maybe pull Steph up in the fact that DEI might not have got to that stage. So we'll have to have a wee conversation with Mr. Flynn and see if he's into religious segregation, but not into other segregation. Let's have a wee chat with him at a later date about that.
Who was under the care of the NHS from the age of 14 to 32 because I was a disabled man and I physically wouldn't be standing.
Mentally?
here today, but wasn't for the wonderful treatment that I received from the NHS. I know what it is to live in chronic pain, and I know what it is to have that chronic pain removed, and it's only thanks to the NHS that happened, which is why in Scotland we don't just have record funding, we don't just have the best paid nursing staff, we don't have no strikes, don't have a single NHS strike in Scotland, and of course we do have some of the best performers.
Let me show you this, because it's important that you actually see this. So, there's no chats there. No chats. So, YouTube during an election, so YouTube during an election in the UK is blocking the chats from our baby gorillas.
Forming NHS levels in Scotland as well. But given that you're going to university to study medicine, I think it's also important.
I think she's going to study hair restoration for you, Baldy Sweeney.
To remind everyone in this audience the difference between the SNP and the Westminster parties, because in SNP-controlled Scotland, you wouldn't pay a single...
The Irish National Party.
...penny in tuition fees for your studies. What a difference that would make to your education.
Oh, that would be great, John. You're going to steal other people's money to pay for the middle class to get a free education.
And your future.
Pre-selected audience. Baldy John's fucking great.
You do accept that you have record waits for treatment at the moment, and that there are very high numbers of people waiting 24 months or waiting sometimes as long as 24 hours in A&E.
And indeed, nobody would seek to dismiss the challenges which exist in our NHS right across these aisles, primarily driven through two issues. One, the backlog from COVID.
Yeah, which wee nippy, the wee tranny lesbo, locked everybody in the house for 2 years more authoritarianly than Boris, who said he was a libertarian. The wee tranny, potentially corrupt individual who killed grannies allegedly by putting people who had COVID into nursing homes, who knew that the COVID shot could actually damage people allegedly, who are denying people representation at the COVID inquiry, Leslie Roberts, on the 22nd of June. And you've done all that, you absolutely filthy scumbag.
But secondly, the austerity agenda, which is impacting us from Westminster.
No, it's impacting us because you locked us in our house for 2 years, you absolute scumbag. It's you that's destroyed it's not anything else other than the fact that you locked us in our house for 2 years, destroyed businesses on the back of this fake pandemic, which only killed people over the natural death age, allegedly. You should go to jail. We're going to put you in jail. That's what we're going to do, you filthy piece of shit.
And has done over the course of the last 14 years. And there's £18 billion of cuts coming down the line, agreed to by Angela Rayner and Penny Mordaunt. The Tories and the Labour both know that they're going to cut public sector investment.
They're all just globalist shells. They're all going to do exactly what they're told by Baldy Dr. Evil in the press down in London.
To come, and that's going to have dramatic consequences on the NHS in the devolved nations, because as Wes Streeting himself said, when it comes to NHS waiting times,
Yeah, that's a good story, Steph, man. Beat it. Just get off.
What Stephen is referring to, the IFS saying that both of your...
So all the twats that voted for the SNP are now going to vote for Angela Amadou Baldina.
Parties are not being honest because of the promises
We're
that made to bring debt down.
Oh, well, that's good. I'm going to invest more. I'm going to steal other people's money and pay for illegal immigrants and mass immigration to pay for their health service. All right. Oh, well, that's good. See, you could steal the most money from the taxpayer to pay for people who are not from here to come here and actually get free health. Well, it's not free. Stolen money's healthcare so they can actually pay for the NHS.
The NHS.
The more people you bring in, the larger the budget, the more these absolute characters love it.
And then Ashani, thank you for
Oh, thank you, Angela. It's great, Angela.
studying in Manchester. I'm biased.
Oh, it's great, Angela. What about the mass rapes of children by Muslim Muslim invaders that you've allowed into Manchester? Raina, you doughball.
But I'd say it's the greatest city.
It's terrific.
But I do think that there is an issue that...
Manchester is actually terrific, but it's going right downhill, isn't it?
Since the Tories took power, I was a home care worker, and
I think you were a home care individual.
And I represented public sector workers across.
Did you? Well, I'm sure they were well represented.
Across the North West and nationally, and the decimation of the social care services and the infrastructure around community services has actually not only left us without that community care, but it costs more in the NHS. Far too many people, especially our older generation, we've just been talking about D-Day and our veterans, they're on trolleys for hours on end not getting the care they need. But
well, if you don't grow the economy and you support the wee green goblin next to you, and you don't want to grow the economy, then you're not going to get enough tax revenue to grow the economy. You're going to overtax to try and compensate for your lack of growth, and you're not going to do anything. And that's what we're teed up for. We're teed up for a bunch of doughballs like you, working in conjunction with the already bought and pay-filled independent Bank of England, and that's where that's going to happen.
It costs more money to do that, so we would put home care services in. It costs less to do that, and we would have 40,000 new appointments every week in the NHS by making sure we close that non-dom tax loophole.
Oh, that's going to be great. So you're going to tax Rishi Sunak's missus before she leaves and goes to the United States?
The non-dom is not going to close the 18...
Baldy Steph, you should shut the fuck up. You've raised taxation, get less tax receipts, you clown.
£1 billion fiscal gap.
Oh, the £1 billion fiscal gap is what's Sajid Gupta, and the fact that's £32 million a year. You've given £5 million to start up businesses per year in Scotland, while giving £32 million pounds to an Indian con man, and you've not spent £450 million that's come from the EU. Shut up, you clown.
Which the Institute for Fiscal Studies says exists. There is a conspiracy of silence.
Oh, conspiracy of silence
between the Labour Party and the Conservative
and the SNP, all cheeks of the same asshole
party in relation to this. You need to explain to the public how you are going to close that gap without.
Why don't you stop misspending people's money then, you baldy twat?
Making NHS services worse.
We have been very...
Oh, well, maybe if you decreased taxes and did the inverse of what you've been doing, then maybe people would have more money to generate growth, which the Greens in Scotland don't want you to do. They want you to reduce growth. So why don't you reduce taxation? Same with the so-called Conservative Party. Reduce taxation, increase growth, and you might increase tax receipts, you baldy twat.
Be clear that we're going to look at efficiencies as well, so we can have technologies.
£18 billion of efficiencies, Angela.
Oh, well, maybe if you just didn't have clowns in your party, then you might get some efficiencies yourself, you idiot.
Technologies that will come in, we all know that would help. We've said about closing the non-dom tax loophole, which...
Oh, non-dom tax. So Rishi Sunak's wife's going to have to pay some dough.
Should give us more appointments, whether that's through dentistry.
Oh, well, maybe if you didn't import the whole of and had open door immigration, we wouldn't be having this conversation. But they don't want that. They want open door immigration so they can increase the size of the state, and they can say, oh, this is free. It's not free. You're overtaxing businesses and individuals, so the fact that you and Baldy John have got the same agenda where you overtax people and then kid on everything's free. Oh, look at that, it's free, it's free. It's not free. You twats, you are an idiot, and Baldy John's an idiot. Baldy Steph's an idiot. It's very difficult to actually tell the difference. Baldy Steph's an idiot, and the fact that you're telling everybody it's free. Oh, it's free. A couple of absolute retards. I'm going to...
GP, and with hospital appointments, we have the record number of waiting lists.
because you keep importing 850,000 people and allowing open door immigrations over the English Channel. Well, it's not really the English. Well, it isn't potentially English Channel because the English came from Germany, so it is potentially the English Channel. So I don't know what you're talking about. What are you talking about, Angela? You absolute retard. So we've got three lefties, all just talking about everything's free, and not one of these retards have ever had to grow a business or pay salary that's other than the fact through the taxpayer. So that's why they think everything's free. It's like dumb, dumber and dumbest, and it doesn't matter which way you want to actually do it. It could be any way.
In the country now, and all roads lead to the Tories.
No, all roads lead to the fact that you've all been delivered in a special needs bus, and the fact is you think things are free.
And what they've done to our public services.
How is it's not. Well, the public services are all paid for by forcing other people for a bigger state to be forced to pay taxation through all of you retards to actually decide where that's going.
Let's get Penny Morden to respond to that.
Yeah, let's get Penny to decide. She's going to big government, largest tax burden on the British taxpayer, and she's going to come up with some enlightening views here. Hold on.
So Manchester's second only to Portsmouth, and we're just about to have both a dental school and a medical school very shortly. And
well, that's absolutely tickety-boo.
Good luck with your studies. Your future colleagues are currently dealing with an increase in
open door immigration.
NHS workload
because of open door immigration that you and your pal over here, the doughball pal, is allowed to happen.
About 43%. That's
that's the amount of people we've allowed in that haven't got any contribution to tax receipts, and we've just allowed them to suck on the public teat, which we tell everybody that it's free.
Legacy of the pandemic that we have to deal with. So there are many things we need to do, but there are two...
The legacy of the pandemic where you held everybody, you and the scumbags in the SNP, held everybody in their house for 2 years. You forced people to take an secure vaccination, and you gaslit us. You destroyed the economy because you're all Remainers, you're all mostly Baldy Dr. Evil's counterparts, and you're going to try and gaslight us again, Morden, and the fact that it was a pandemic, it was Brexit, it was you scumbags because you're all shills.
Really important things. We have to keep the budget strong. You need a strong economy to do that, and public spending is going to go up.
I'm going to do this in 3 sections because I'm going to do this for another 10 minutes, and that'll give me 3 sections of this.
It will go up, and for the NHS, very substantially. The only people on this platform...
the only person on this platform who's not a shill for the globalists, the fake Conservatives, the fake Labour Party, the GIMP, Green Party, Globalist, Islamo Marxist Party. That could be any one of them, including Baldy Steph of the Irish National Party. Apparently, Steph might be a Scot in Northern Britain or Caledonia, but if he was wanting to be Irish in Northern Britain, he should have a bit of respect and speak Brythonic, or if he doesn't want, he should just go back to Ireland. We've got the illiberal, undemocratic Democrats, and the fake Welsh nationalists with the fake Scottish nationalists, and this doughball in the red suits. So we've got 6 globalist shells in Nige.
Cut the NHS budget. Our Labour in Wales, they've cut it 4 times, and that's why their waiting lists are 4 times longer than they are in England.
NHS funding is going down.
Nothing to do with the fact that both these doughballs who are in... These are 2 cheeks of the same asshole, are in cahoots and in conjunction with the Baldy Dr. Evil in Davos and the Bilderberg Group and the Council on Foreign Relations in America.
You account for ageing and
a
inflation.
Labour government. The NHS can't afford it either. But the second...
They can't afford to have open door immigration or 800,000 people coming in legal migration and having that burden on the state, you fucking idiot.
The thing we also need to do is increase the number of healthcare professionals.
Oh, well, I would suspect that if you're allowing anybody just to walk into the country and telling us that we need to increase the size of the state to allow 800,000 people housing and all the other things that are burdens on the state that we've got to pay taxes for.
We have been doing that. We have 70,000 more nurses, for example. But we need to...
Oh, you've got 70,000 more nurses. So 800,000 people... you've not given the 70,000 nurses from when. We don't know. That could be from 1901. We don't know what that's talking about. It sounds like you're just spouting a lot of shit.
To retain people in the service. We've got to take the stress off people, but we also have to remove barriers to them continuing
you do
in service.
acknowledge, don't you, that the pandemic is not completely...
Well, the pandemic was apparently, we're hearing stuff that's coming out of America, and the Americans were doing biological research in Wuhan. So it looks like the globalists might have known this was actually happening and stuck people with jabs that had detrimental effects to life, but yet taking no responsibility from it, not including Nigel, obviously.
Future pensions,
they were rising
senior
before.
nurses and doctors is going to get healthcare professionals to leave the service. That is...
Getting people to leave the service because they're overstressed because you've had open door immigration.
Going to lead to more waiting lists.
So we've got this. Although I disagree with her, this is an improvement on this, man. This is going to be the retards, the special needs bus of the Labour Party that's going to come in en masse. And all the retard Labour MPs, like Quasimodo's, like Mordor, that's going to be taken over from the retards and the fake Conservative Party. It's going to be like spot the idiot. I'm going to have a field day.
Rubbish, and you've just said that we need a strong economy. You backed Liz Truss and crashed our economy. You made people like me.
It wasn't Liz, and you can hear all the clapping seals in the background there. We've got a selected audience by the Doughballs and the BBC. So it wasn't Liz Truss that crashed the economy. It was the Bank of England that crashed the economy, and the Bank of England crashed the economy because they're globalist shills. If you actually check out, the governor of the Bank of England was over at Davos taking his instructions, and Liz Truss reducing taxation. Obviously what this woman from Mordor and the orc here didn't want to actually do is reduce taxation. She wants more and more taxes so she can buy her big stupid red suits and be in a position where she's overly promoted, and that's the reality. She's overly promoted for her intellect. She's an absolute clown, and this is what you have to start taking into consideration. Do you want clown shoes politicians like her to be in charge? There's another clown with a bad haircut. Yeah, and the media are supporting these idiots. They don't want, and the reason I'm going over the top, which I understand, I'm sure people say, "Oh, David, why are we speaking so nasty about these people?" And the reason I'm speaking nastily and not being moderate, which I understand, I get it. I'm not being moderate because of the implications of the hegemony between the political class and the media, because they won't actually take somebody me to actually go one-to-one with any of these buffoons. I've got Nigel up there. They won't take me to go one-to-one with any of these buffoons and destroy them. That's the reason why I'm being nasty, because I know by me being nasty, I'll get eyes on it. People will be going, "Oh, David, you're so nasty, that's really nasty." But you're not really having the same level of disgust of Baldy Steph murdering your granny. You've not got that. You're sorry, "Oh, David, hurty words. But you've not got that same level of disgust, a bunch of commie scumbags who are all in line with Baldy Dr. Evil, who are giving your country away. You haven't got that level of disgust of that. You're saying, oh, hurty words, let's criminalise David Baldy for hurty words.
London, when we were in the home care service.
We've got a pre-selected bunch of Rita. This guy's falling asleep. Look, this guy. So this is the Labour Party. The Labour Party is basically implants by the doughballs in the BBC. What we're going to do with the BBC is we're going to seize the actual BBC in Scotland, and we're going to auction off because we've already paid for it. And the fact is, there's no Scottish people in the BBC board that we actually like, so we're just going to seize it and we'll just take control of it. So they won't be able to get away. They'll get away with this so long until we actually take back, and we'll change it to the Caledonian Broadcasting Company or something, or the Britain Broadcasting Company.
Even Liz Truss, on her worst day, still recognised that we need a nuclear deterrent in this country, Angela.
And so do I.
Oh, look at these two. Oh, these two are big-brained individuals. So this is why the BBC's focus is on these two, because just if you see a wee sphincter here, there's a wee sphincter. There's a wee sphincter here. So if you think about a wee sphincter here, this is just the two cheeks of the same wee sphincter asshole. Wee George Galloway's sort of puckering up just now, and this is the big sphincter.
And so do I.
Okay. But your sons do not.
We need to hear.
So what we need to do is stick these two in the next war. I'm up for that. I will gladly allow these people to fight in the next battle. These people are obviously need to get equality and fight the next battle.
Tips from all parties. Penny Morton, I'm going to go to Rena Pureworth next.
I'm going to be very nice with Ashani. My life may be in your hands one day, but thank you for studying medicine and do.
Now, they should be called Welsh. Welsh is very disrespectful. Just like the fact that Scotland being called Scotland is very disrespectful. England being called England. The Welsh are the original Brythonic speakers, just like the Cornish. The Cornish and the Welsh are the OGs, the original. The fact that these guys have become a bunch of commie globalist scum is very upsetting for me. It's not the problem of the underlying Welsh or the Irish or the underlying Britons in what is now called the land of the Irish, Scotland, or the land of the Germans, England. So this is the thing. So it's very upsetting for me seeing my Celtic brethren, my Celtic Brythonic brethren getting called Welsh, which means foreign in English.
To enjoy it. I mean, I have a privilege of...
It's more upsetting for me to actually hear them just talk a lot of commie globalist shit.
Speaking for Wales here this evening, but hopefully what I say...
You shouldn't be calling it Wales. That you've got a slave mind. You're the OGs. You're the original Britons. So you stop calling it Wales, which means foreign.
It will have relevance for people wherever they are in the UK. I think one thing you want is an assurance about what kind of NHS we will have in future. And
well, it's not going to be much in NHS if you keep importing people and you can't keep up with demand, is it? You've got universities which should have statistics, and you should be able to keep up with demand, because the university should be able to do statistics on how many people are going to come in, how many nurses and doctors you need.
Party is absolutely clear. The NHS should and must remain free at the point of need. Another key principle...
Oh, that's brilliant, mate. That's brilliant. Well done. That's a great political point. I don't think there's anybody on the stage that doesn't agree with that. So well done, mate. Well done. Great political point. Good effort.
For me and Plaid Cymru is that no profit should be taken out of the NHS.
And to be fair, Cymru, Heel and Nog, which is Cumbria just now, which is South Strathclyde, is Cumbria, which is had its own language before it got anglicised.
Will not consider ever privatising the NHS, something that, of course, the Conservatives want to do, but remarkably Labour are happy to see.
The Heel and Nog probably spoke the same language it did with the Britons of Strathclyde, who were the OGs, who were originally the inhabitants of Strathclyde, and I think the Cumbrian Brythonic is the language that we should be speaking in Scotland.
privatisation within the NHS now.
How's that grab you, Mr. Finn?
But you know, we in Wales have had a double whammy. We've had the impact.
Well, you've had the impact that you're a bunch of commie globalist scumbags and you're not really nationalists like the Sinn Féin or the Irish National Party in Northern Britain.
Of the cuts of austerity that absolutely comes down to hitting public services, education and health. And
well, if you've got open door immigration, you double, you're going to have problems because you're going to have increased demand, isn't it? I don't understand what the difficulty is. It's not free. Somebody's paying for it. It's either businesses. You're going to increase taxes on businesses and individuals, which is going to reduce growth, which is going to reduce tax receipts. I don't understand why that's so difficult.
Everything, plus a very badly managed NHS by Labour.
I do want to point out that you were in a cooperation agreement with Welsh Labour until very recently, until just a few weeks ago. And
same as in Scotland with the Irish National Party and the Labour Party of Scotland. So two cheeks of the same asshole. So if you just vote for one or vote for the other, you're not changing anything.
We have record waiting lists in Wales.
The NHS was in no way...
So both... the Welsh nationalists and the Irish nationalists, Scottish nationalists are voting the same way as the Labour Party, and they both can't meet their demands because you can't grow the economy. They're thick as fuck, and the fact is that both the Labour Party and the so-called nationalists are two cheeks of the same asshole.
A part of that cooperation agreement because we do not agree with Labour's approach on the NHS.
Well, it doesn't matter if you disagree or not. The fact is you and Baldy Steph there, Kojak, Luke Picard there in the middle are all voting for the same way. Both you, the SNP and Labour are all voting for the same way. And none of the three of you clown parties can reduce the waiting times because you're actually political retards. It's like, all right, so us two spastics will vote for the same way that the spastics in the Labour Party, the retards in the Labour Party are voting, and we'll see if that works. Oh, it doesn't work. Oh, we've got increased waiting times. Baldy Steph there. Oh, we've got reducing education standards. I don't know what's happening in Wales as well, but I suspect probably the same thing. Oh, I wonder what that problem is. It's probably because you're all left-wing retards and you can't, the policies you're bringing in, whether it's you, the Welsh Nationalist, so-called Nationalist Party or Labour, are all just cheeks of the same asshole and all your policies are stupid.
In Wales, my job as an opposition member is to persuade them to make some bold decisions to take us on the right direction. But
bold decisions. Well, that has convinced me, mate. The fact is you're saying bold decisions, but you're still voting the same way as the Labour Party. And once the doughballs in the Labour Party come in, it's going to be like the lunatics have taken over the asylum. And you twats in the Sinn Féin, you twats in the Welsh Nationalist Party, and the twats in the Irish, Scottish National Party are all going to be, if we take some bold decisions, it's your left-wing politics is the problem, mate. So the fact you're swapping one bunch of doughball left-wing politics to another bunch of doughball left-wing politics, it's not going to make any difference, mate. It's you that's the problem. You're a retard and you're the problem.
But you know what you need more than anything, Ashani, is assurance that sustainability will be built in for the workforce.
Oh, yes. Oh, well, if you can't get sustainability, what you need is growth, mate. What you need to do is empower entrepreneurs and give them access to capital and start up businesses, rather than Baldy Steph giving Sajid Gupta £32 million per year for 25 years while giving Scottish entrepreneurs £5 million. Maybe if you weren't such a bunch of retards, you'd be able to sort things out.
Within the NHS, workforce planning and giving you the support through your pay packet one, but all those other means that show that you are valued as a health worker.
Okay.
Oh, well, that's fantastic, mate. Well done. Well done. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. How are you going to grow the economy?
Nigel Farage.
Whether it's Labour-run Wales or SNP-run Scotland or Conservative-run England, we all know that whilst you can get great care, the NHS model isn't working. You can't get GP appointments, things that we've all grown up...
He's brilliant, isn't he? He's brilliant.
...taking for granted.
That's why he's in 24%.
And they can argue about, it's all money. I'm going to spend more money. You're going to spend more money. It doesn't work. Just a few years ago, we were spending 7.5% of the national cake on the NHS. We're now spending over 11% of the national cake on the NHS.
So the answer to Ishani's question, how would you ensure she graduates into a fully functioning NHS?
Reduce immigration. Reduce immigration. There you go. All the clapping seals in the background there won't like that, but reduce immigration so it's functioning.
NHS.
And then support British entrepreneurs. There you go. There's two. So you increase growth and reduce taxation. There's three. There's three things. How about that? Does that solve your problem, BBC?
I'm going to answer it. Because the more money we spend, the less delivery we get, which means the model is wrong. The model through which we fund...
Well, it's not really the model that's wrong. It's you need to increase growth, reduce taxation, and increase tax receipts and reduce taxation for over demand.
Health is wrong.
So this is Nigel telling us he doesn't believe in the NHS. This is
Baldy wee John's where's my WhatsApp's wee brother telling us a lot of nonsense.
What he's doing, he's telling the public he does not believe in the NHS.
No, I'm telling you,
want to
funding
privatise
model,
it. That is what you want to do.
And you in Scotland, of all places, I mean, look, the NHS is...
It's not Scotland. That's wee Baldy John's, wee Baldy John's wee brother, wee Baldy Steph's country. This is Britain, BRTON. We speak Brythonic up here, and wee Baldy Steph better fit in or ship out.
Very badly run. Let's change the funding model.
We'll not be taking any lectures from you.
You'd like more private healthcare?
Well, it doesn't matter if it's private healthcare because that person's already paid for the free funding of other people's healthcare or a personal healthcare from himself over and above the taxation is already getting charged.
Let's change the model. Now,
so I'm not quite sure where he's going with that.
The NHS, it isn't funded through national insurance. That's a nonsense. It goes into the pot. There are countries right next door to us. There's one country, France, that has a very, very different way of funding the NHS. It's rather like those that can afford, through their taxes, pay into an insurance scheme. Those that can't afford it don't pay in, so it's for the mutual benefit of everybody, and it's managed as if it was a private company, and their returns on stroke, heart and cancer are better than ours for exactly the same sum of money.
Baldy Steph doesn't care about that. He's just getting experimental vaccines put in every child in Scotland.
We get a fully functioning NHS.
The King's Foundation.
If we spend our money properly, and we're not spending our money properly, and that's the point.
Daisy, you'll have to make it very brief because I need to get to Carla
The Hill Foundation and the King's Fund have done an analysis of different funding models. They don't materially make a difference to people's health outcomes.
Oh, that's great. Well, I'm going to listen to you.
What makes a big difference, most of all, is the amount of money you put into your health service.
And the Green Party
and independent experts say.
I'd like. So the more money you put in, the more money you put in when you increase immigration, the larger the state. I mean, the Liberals are just a Marxist party. They're just a big state commie party.
It works. Let's learn from it.
I'd like to hear from Carla Denyer on this.
And the Green Party, the party that's ready to be honest about the need for investment.
Carla who? What's her name?
Because Ishani
don't materially make a difference to people's health outcomes. What makes a big difference, most of all, is the amount of money you put into your health service.
And the Green Party
and independent experts say.
It works. Let's learn from it.
I'd like to hear from Carla Denyer on this.
Carla Denyer? What's that? Where's this wee mad lazy from?
And the Green Party, the party that's ready to be honest about
the angry tranny commie party. Carry on, Carla Denyer.
Need for investment because Shani, you're quite right to ask the question and thank you for stepping into this important vocation. The NHS has been chronically underfunded for decades. It's on its knees. This cannot be allowed to continue.
Well, it's on its knees because in the last 50 years we've had open door immigration. So if you're actually stealing people's money through taxation, it's obviously going to come to a stage where you're going to run out of money when you're allowing open door immigration, whether it be legal or illegal. So unless you address the actual facts, then you're not going to address the problem, are you? Absolute clashes. Look at your notes. Continue.
Most of us agree about that. But the answer is not,
Did you look down your notes there?
as the Conservatives and, surprisingly, Labour think, to invite big multinational companies further into our national health service.
Look at your notes, honey. Look at your notes. Make sure you get the commie propaganda correct.
The answer is investment and protecting.
But how can you invest? It's not an investment. This is a service that's provided by the state and free for all. If you're allowing open door immigration and people who are not paid into the system are allowed to use it on the same basis the people who have, you're not going to be able to utilise it, or not utilise it, but fund it in a way where you're going to be able to have a functioning health service. You can't have the state stealing people's money to pay for a service where you're just allowing anybody in to actually utilise that service. Are you stupid? You are actually stupid. I understand you're actually stupid, but I mean, really, you can't. It's unworkable long term for that model for you to do open door immigration and the state providing services with unlimited pockets. It's unworkable. I'm surprised I have to tell you that.
Our NHS
and the money comes from?
Well, we announced our health and social care.
The money comes from forcing other people to steal through taxation, through the state, to provide services for people who have never contributed to it. So that's where the money comes from.
Policy just yesterday, and that included a £30 billion increase in funding for our health services.
From where?
Is £20 billion on social care.
From where?
And it's really important that we understand how closely those are linked, because
but no point of reference for where the money's actually coming from.
If we have better social care, it takes the pressure off the NHS, and a one-off £20 billion capital investment.
These are large.
I mean, listen. I've got a £500 billion investment in the UK economy, and I've got another £1 billion invested in the National Health Service, and we're going to let anybody in, and we're all going to live happily ever after. I mean, really, honestly, this is not a politician. This is what I'm trying to say. The BBC only allow these people on because they're not politicians. They're just making up figures that are buffoonishly stupid. And Baldy Dr. Evil, the son of a Nazi, has got a lot of these individuals under his nebbishy spell.
Some are crumbling.
They come from where?
They come from
me pulling something out my asshole and actually just making up figures.
Reforming the tax system, because currently
reforming the tax system, that's good. So more taxation on you to fund any bullshit idea that I've got.
The UK tax system is unbelievably unfair. It puts more...
it's unbelievably unfair. Oh, no.
Onus on lower income workers.
Well, reduce the taxation. Both the Labour Party and the SNP have put up taxes, so reduce it on the working class.
Working people to contribute to the Treasury than it does towards the super rich, the millionaires, the multimillionaires and the billionaires. And so the Green...
Yeah, that's not going to work anyway. So we've got a middle class doughball here just saying exactly the same as... Bertie Sanders, or whatever his name is, until he found out he was a millionaire, and then he just went from millionaires to the billionaires, and I'm sure this trans lesbian thing is probably something similar.
Would make some adjustments to that system so that those with the broadest shoulders who can most easily afford to pay...
I think your shoulders are potentially pads.
Quite a modest amount, and that will provide...
Oh, will it provide for you putting out billions and millions, and they'll just provide billions? Why don't we just reduce immigration? There you go. That'll stop the fact of unnecessary increases in the demand. No. The Green Party in Turkey, I was going to say, in Germany, were laughing at the cop who was holding down the guy that was getting attacked while getting sliced in the neck, and the Green Party were laughing at that. Shows you what a bunch of scum that's in the Green Party.
Plenty of funding for decent investment in public services that benefit all of us.
Okay. Thank you, Carla Denyer, and thank you all. on to our next question, and this one comes from Lorenzo Barba.
Where I live in Essex, I'm struggling to find a house. I've noticed the roads are busier.
The guy that's emigrated here is struggling to find a house.
And it's almost impossible to get a doctor's appointment.
I like this guy already, man. I like this guy.
I think immigration is partly to blame.
I like this. I'm here. Well, probably the rest of those immigrants.
What are the parties going to do about immigration?
Increase it. Apart from Nigel. So there you go. That's it. That's the rest of they're going to do exactly the same stuff. The WEF has actually told them to do, and they're going to lie to you rather than actually tell you the truth.
Thank you very much, Lorenzo, for that. And I'm going to turn first to Stephen Flynn.
So I accept
that I'm an Irish immigrant that's named my party over Irish colonisers into Britain. We disrespect the Brythonic language, and we've set up segregated schools based on our Roman Catholicism, which Scotland prevented the Romans coming in to what is now called Scotland, which would have been Britain at the time, Briton, and then the Scottish colonisers came over from Ireland, and then the Viking colonisers came over, and we showed no respect for the underlying Brythonic culture. But we want more immigration so they could join our child rapist death cult like the Islamists.
It's the premise of what you're saying in respect of your area. I'm afraid I don't know it very well, but let me say a few home truths, particularly to some members of this panel. Migration is absolutely essential.
Because I wouldn't be in Northern Britain if it wasn't essential.
To our public services,
I would be in Ireland.
Absolutely essential to our businesses. And it's
because the more people you import, the more people you have to provide services for, the more we can steal your money through the increased size of the state.
Absolutely essential to our economic.
So the only thing that grows the economy by baldy Steph, and a great analysis. Money from their own investors in the Irish National Party, while not getting any further forward on Scottish independence, is by replacing the indigenous population and bringing in diversity, equity, inclusion, while having segregated schooling from a denominational or a religious point of view. So the paedophiles in the Catholic Church have now decided to go on board with the paedophiles of a Middle Eastern religion, and that's more important than actually bringing in Scottish entrepreneurs or Brythonic entrepreneurs to grow the economy.
And what we need.
And here's some clapping seals in the background. All of them, the BBC, and all of them are all on the one side. So only Nigel stands alone. All of them are all together, and every one of those has been brought up on the special needs bus.
Need to do is end the demonisation of migration in Scotland.
Well, that's good, Steph. So obviously you as an Irish, I presume Catholic, I don't know if you are actually an Irish Catholic, but you want to not demonise Catholics and abolish denominational schools, Baldy Steph, won't you? You also bear in mind the fact that in the Catholic Herald that the Catholic Church in its own Catholic Herald is full of child rapists, which is it's not like a far right or not even an auction or a Protestant orange thing. I'm an atheist. I don't believe in any of that stuff. But you must recognise that the Catholic Church is full of child rapists, and the Pope has gone over to in the Middle East to talk to a religion that is a child rapist for a profit. So I don't know what point of reference. So are you telling me, Baldy Steph, that you're going to abandon denominational schools and become more inclusive and rather than allowing these child rapist priests to actually prey on Catholic children?
Scotland, we have a declining working...
Well, the reason you've got a declining working population is twofold. A, because you're overtaxing, because you're a bunch of doughballs and you're funding the child rapist death cult, which is Islam, through Humza Useless and the Catholic Church. The Catholics and the Islamists seem to be well connected just now. So you're funding both of these situations, and we know this as well. So, and... you've also got a denominational schooling where the Catholics in Scotland don't want to go to school with people who are non, or the religious. It's like a race-based schooling where the people who follow child rapist death cults, where it allows both the paedophile priests in the Catholic Church and the paedophiles in Islam to interfere with children, and they can get segregated off. So this is a big problem. It's not a problem for people who are not in those cults, but it's a big problem for the people that are in these cults.
Age population, despite a net...
So you've overtaxed, the British government's overtaxed, you've deliberately done this because you're shells for the globalists. So you might not like to hear this information, but this is what the situation is.
Number of people moving from the rest of the UK to Scotland. We need...
what you need to do is grow the Scottish population by having more children, having more sex. That's it. But if you're overtaxing the Scottish population, then you're you're going to get... You've increased taxes and get less tax receipts. So it's obviously I'm dealing with a bunch of retards. The fact is that if you can't work this out for yourself, then you shouldn't be in the political position you're in.
Migrants, and this race to the bottom on migration.
Right, so you're going to increase migrants, but they might not be doing any worthwhile jobs that Scottish people couldn't be doing, unless you're getting high growth, high net individuals. The fact that you've emigrated here from Ireland, obviously, I take it, it doesn't mean that we should have open door immigration, Baldy Steph.
Driven by Nigel Farage, followed by the Conservative Party.
Well, the Conservative Party have not been open door immigrationists like yourself, Baldy Steph. But we've had to have we've got a lot of people who have emigrated here who are retards like yourself. There's a lot of people I could point out who are more modern day immigrants than yourself that are shouldn't be in the Scottish Parliament because they're stupid.
Party and hotly chased by the Labour Party does not.
Well, the Labour Party is the same as you. It's two cheeks of the same asshole.
Serve Scotland's interests.
It's not Scotland. This is Northern Britain or Caledonia or Britain, Briton. I know, understand you might be a Celtic supporter and you've came here. I don't know if you came here before from the original Dalrada invasion of Britain, but or you've came here in the subsequent subsequent allowing people to come over in the 18th century. But regardless of which it is, you should have a bit more respect for the actual indigenous population and stop calling it Scot or Scottish or Scot-I, which means Irish. You're not in Ireland just now, Mr. Flynn.
And it does not serve your interests either. So
you don't serve our interests. You guys are like the special needs bus, and we're not interested.
Rise up against it.
We're rising up against you. I don't think you understand. You're the problem. We don't see Nigel as a problem. You're the problem.
Keir Starmer did in 2020 and talk...
Keir Starmer's the same cheek as your ass. You're at one ass. These guys are all the same. They're all the same.
About the benefits of migration. It's important.
Oh, well, we don't think you're a benefit in Britain or Caledonia, whatever you want to do, Northern Britain. We don't think you're a benefit. We think you wanted to have segregated schooling and then quote the benefits of immigration and DEI. what we're going to do is abolish denominational schools so we can all integrate. How about that, Baldy Steph? I'm sure you'll be a supporter of that. Obviously, the Britons didn't want the invasion of the Romans, and the Romans built the wall. But obviously, our Celtic brothers from Ireland enjoyed or embraced the Catholicism, which was the remnants of the Roman Empire, and you've now brought in the Catholicism from that to Northern Britain that rejected Catholicism and rejected the Italian inputs from Rome. So it's about time you smell the coffee and go back to your Celtic roots.
So,
our fundamental aspects of life
to be clear, any voter in Scotland who wants lower immigration should vote for other parties.
I think any.
Yeah, because the Scottish National Party is an Irish immigrant party. That's why Scotti were Irish invaders of Britain, Northern Britain. It doesn't matter what you want to call it, Northern Britain, Caledonia. The indigenous language is not Irish, which is Scots Gaelic, Irish Gaelic. Irish is Brythonic. And I think we have to stop talking to Baldy Steph as if he knows what he's talking about.
A voter in Scotland who wants to impact.
So an immigrant to Northern Britain or Caledonia wants us to import more people to Northern Britain or Caledonia to be disrespectful like Baldy Steph is.
Our economy, impact our NHS, should vote.
So the larger you inflate the state by importing people who may or may not be contributing to it, is going to benefit Baldy Steph so he can steal your money.
For the parties who want to cut migration, which is the Labour Party, the Conservative Party.
None of them want to do it. Only Reform UK apparently want to do it.
And Nigel.
So Baldy Steph of the Irish National Party wants to have open border immigration. So they're not a nationalist party. These guys are a bunch of commie scumbags for Davos.
Barrage. And this is a consequence of us being led down the garden path by the...
Nobody's interested in what you say, you absolute scumbag, you baldy, delusional piece of shit.
Right wing in British politics for far too long.
Well, we've been listening to you over 14 years with your open door immigration policy, posturising as a nationalist, as an Irish nationalist, apparently, by being Scottish. So, obviously this is Northern Britain or Caledonia, whatever you want, but we're done with you guys, we're done. So we're done with your open door immigration, we're done with your absolute nonsense about kidding on that you're nationalists. We're done. We're going to abolish denominational schools. We're all going to go to the same school. Your Irish papacy religion from the Church of Rome, which the reason that the Hadrian's Wall was put up in the first place against Northern Britain was because of the invasion of that into Britain, Northern Britain or Caledonia, whatever you choose to call it. So we're done.
We need to stand against it. We need to promote our economy.
You haven't promoted. You've pissed up taxpayers' money against the wall. You're a bunch of doughballs.
Promote our public services. And
yeah, you've destroyed the public services. You're down tens of places on education, health service.
To do so by promoting migration.
Right, so the only way is to replace the Brythonic population, and that's the only way. These guys are not nationalists. These guys are fake scumbags. That's we done. So we've got the clapping seals with the makeover. Some of these people aren't even clapping. So half these people aren't even clapping.
Nigel Farage.
Well, I'm on a platform tonight with 6 other people whose parties have been wholly unconcerned with the issue of immigration. They think that to even question it somehow makes you a bad person. Let's get back.
Well, Baldy Steph's an immigrant anyway. He's from Ireland, isn't he? Flynn is an Irish name. So Baldy Steph not only wants to more people to come here, Baldy Steph is an Irish immigrant who probably sends his children to a segregated school based on his Catholicism and the papacy in Rome and the paedophiles that are all in the Catholic Church.
Back to Lorenzo's question.
And it's very worrying that he wants to bring in more Islamic immigration who have got a paedophile for a profit.
Let's deal with some logic, shall we? From the end of the 1940s...
That'll be a novelty for you.
Until Mr Blair got to
Aye, well, it's a novelty for you baldy prick.
power. Listen to the numbers. You probably don't know them.
Well, he doesn't care. He's an immigrant as well. He's from Ireland. This is an Irish guy that's in charge of a party called the Scottish Irish National Party. So he's in line with Sinn Féin, who are a Catholic. It's not the fact that they're Catholic, they're a communist globalist party. So Baldy Steph voted for Hamza Useless, who's a member of a child rapist death cult. And he's an immigrant as well, who probably sends his children to a segregated school. So let's not kid on. If you want to do it, let's do it, Steph.
For 50 years...
But he's just a baldy twat. Nigel, I wouldn't listen to baldy twat Steph.
As net migration into Britain was 30 to 40,000 a year. Then Tony Blair gets in.
But it wasn't Tony Blair. The WEF was set up in 1971. So all of this happened, including Harold Wilson. Then who's that poofy prick that was in the Conservative Party? Heath. And then that was taken over by Thatcher, who I think slightly rebelled against the globalist shilling of the WEF, which Baldy Dr. Evil was in charge of back in 1971. So this has been going for decades. This is not new.
Decides to open the doors. We get net migration. For the period of the Labour government of 2.7 million people come in that period. Then we get the Conservatives elected in 2010, 2015, 2017, telling us
they're all been schooled in the WEF leadership programme. That's why they've controlled the central offices, and then they bring on people who are already pre-indoctrinated, like Baldy Steph.
They'll reduce net migration to tens of thousands a year. 4.3 million the Conservatives have let in. Most of those that come in are not directly productive members of the economy.
So you shouldn't let anybody into the UK that's going to allow people to get social services until they've contributed to the social services.
Most of those that come in are actually dependents. And Lorenzo, the truth of it is, this ought to be the immigration election. Because whether we talk about housing, whether we talk about the fact that rents are up between 20 and 30...
I don't know, this guy's obviously got man boobs and sits like a woman, and then you've got the effeminate guy and the constipated woman there. So you've got all of these people already indoctrinated to come in here. The BBC already know who these people are and what their political preferences are. So this is a pre-selected and to allow you to reinforce your views that Nigel's the problem. It's these people are the problem and the 6 other characters on stage.
% in most of the country in the last 4 years. Whether we talk about the roads, whether we talk about infrastructure, we are living through a population crisis, an increase
because women aren't producing enough children. That's why Baldy Steph they're not prepared to say women, if you have 3 or less children, we're not in population replacement. The only thing that these people, because they brought in feminism and girl bosses and all that crap, the only thing that these people are prepared to do is population replacement.
Of 10 million people since Mr Blair came to power, and frankly, it's making us poorer, it is diminishing our quality of life, and it's nothing to do with race or any of those issues. It's to do with actually putting the interests of our communities first. We need to get net migration, and that means, by the way, people come and people go. We need to get
I don't agree with that. I think it means that the fact that we may have to reduce population, the GDP doesn't really matter. And what matters is the quality of life. And there's a lot of people who have committed crimes who are not being deported. People who are legally here who are not being deported. This has been deliberately done because of the globalists.
Net migration down to an even figure for the next few years, and maybe then we can hope to catch up with housing, with health, and many of those things.
Most of those coming to the UK today are on work visas or are international students.
About 50%.
Well, you don't actually know that.
50% of those.
They don't know that because they're not taking track of who's coming here and who's here.
That come on dependents, whether they're coming with work.
But the rules are changing. The rules are changing.
Well, she just said something else. So the BBC's obviously partisan. That she's actually saying that the rules are changing. They didn't change before the election. So why would we trust the Conservative Party after the election? The Conservative Party signed up for the Barcelona Process, the Union of the Mediterranean, and the UN Compact in Marrakesh. That was all signed up by the Tories.
Reunions. We've even had under the Conservatives students coming and bringing their mum. The whole thing's been unbelievable.
So don't buy this.
Unbelievable.
Right, that's been done. So 31 minutes. I'm going to do this in 3 stages. I'm done. So let me see. So I've not managed to get one comment on this. I mean, really. So not one comment. Right, I'm done.